How did the Commonwealth Bank first become aware that Bankwest was for sale?
I think it's fair to say that the Commonwealth Bank had been interested in Bankwest for some time as well, from a strategic point of view. Of course, we had been keeping a close eye on the health of HBOS, Bankwest parent, and because we had advisors assisting us, we were aware of circumstances generally concerning HBOS. This was a case where the bank was working closely with the company in order to try and help them survive. Is that the bank has worked very closely with these particular customers over a long period of time.
But the range of complaints that we have received in the form of submissions does suggest that there was a sort of a systemic approach which was quite brutal in terms of dealing with these customers and quite unreasonable. This committee a couple of years ago did an inquiry into the liquidators. Very interesting, but we were struck by the comparisons and the similarities between the quite unethical behaviour and quite vicious behaviour of the liquidators in dealing with the businesses which they were put in a position to liquidate in terms of charging high fees, stripping of assets, and leaving these people completely bereft. Between the behaviour of the liquidators and the reports we're receiving about the behaviour of Bankwest, and we find that very troubling in terms of the ethics, if you like, of the whole banking industry and of the role CBA by implication has in having had somebody on the board of Bankwest when these events were occurring.
So, Senator, what I would say in relation to the number of submissions you've received is they have been well orchestrated. We shouldn't resile from the fact that, as you know, there is an unhappy banking campaign that has been well orchestrated and has drummed up a number of submissions. So again, you're receiving only half of the story.
That is why were so many of these clients required to sign confidentiality clauses on deeds?
The reason for that is because both parties are generally compromising their legal position to some degree and their commercial position to some degree. And it's usually not in either party's interest to have that compromise publicly known.
In the evidence we were given yesterday, it appeared to be to disguise high fees and the stripping of a particular company of its assets, but I accept the point you've made as a general comment. As the question here is whether Bankwest is a bad apple and to what degree you were aware of it.
The operative date for purchase of Bankwest was 18 December 2008. That's right. You then moved to do an immediate root and branch examination of their loan portfolio, the bank?
Bankwest did, yes.
Commonwealth Bank did?
No, Bankwest did.
Well, Commonwealth Bank released a statement in 2010 attached to its annual report, and it says, and I quote, "The CBA initiated a review of the Bankwest portfolio after the acquisition." There's a whole set of statements in your annual reports. Yeah. So it was the Commonwealth Bank, according to its own statement here, that initiated the review of the loan portfolio.
Senator, I think what we have to be careful of here is a very clear distinction between two issues. One is the review that any new business owner takes out when it acquires a business and goes into that business to understand the business thoroughly.
Of course.
That is a review that the bank did over a period of time. The second element I'd point out is the actual review of the commercial property loan portfolio in Bankwest, which is what I'm referring to as a Bankwest-initiated review, so that Bankwest could understand the status of those loans better. And, for that matter, so could CBA. So there's no doubt CBA had an interest in the review being carried out.
Mr. Cohen, on 8th of October, CBA announced that it had purchased Bankwest in St Andrews, Australia, for $2.1 billion.
Yes.
This represented a price-to-book ratio of 0.8, significantly less than the average of 1.9 for recent acquisitions in the Australian banking sector. So, and you also advised at the beginning that the CBA had been keeping Bankwest under review as a possible acquisition target to beef up your presence in the West Australian market. In my view, it's not unremarkable that CBA initiated a root and branch review of the loan portfolio. I would find it remarkable if you did not, having bought a business that was essentially insolvent to the extent that you paid half the going price for it. So why are you trying to distinguish between the parent organisation having full knowledge after investigation of the loan review by saying that it's Bankwest officers that initiated the review and had the knowledge?
Oh, Senator, I'm not trying to draw a distinction between what we knew versus what Bankwest knew. Right. So you're absolutely right in the sense that when we acquired Bankwest, we had a certain amount of knowledge, but as I mentioned before, we had the benefit of 3 days due diligence. So our detailed knowledge was scant.
Correct.
Absolutely scant. So as a prudent business owner would do, having acquired a business, we undertook a general review to get to know that business much, much better, which we did. In the course of that review, it became clear to us that there were some questions around the quality of the commercial property loan book in particular, but commercial loans in general.
Yes.
In general. We had a new managing director of Bankwest appointed who was from CBA, John Sutton.
Yep.
John led a project within Bankwest to thoroughly review the commercial loan book, and that was a particular detail that we got into via Bankwest. Bankwest did carry that out. The distinction I'm drawing is that it wasn't a team of CBA people who were flown in from the east to pour through the books. That wasn't the case at all.
I know Mr. Sutton from West Australia. Mr. Sutton is a senior, experienced and respected banker, both within your own organisation and the industry more widely.
Yes.
And so the fact that he was appointed by the board of CBA to oversee the investigation, but perhaps it was done by a range of line officers employed by Bankwest, is neither here nor there. He received the report,
yes,
and he reported appropriately up the line to both the board of CBA and to appropriate senior management as to the status of the loan book.
That's correct.
And if he had not done so, he would have been derelict in his duties and expectation of his board. Is that not correct?
And he did so report.
And he did so report. And so to the extent that you had purchased an organisation that was either essentially insolvent or close to bankruptcy, and the fact that the bank organised a team of officers to properly examine the loan book, and the fact that you found a whole range of loans that were of dubious quality, and the fact that you had to write off hundreds of millions of dollars in successive years is neither here nor there, is it?
It's what happened.
Customary,
those were the facts.
Normal and customary business practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Talking about loan-to-value ratios, do you think valuers should be totally independent from banks when they go to value an asset?
The question of valuations depends on the exact circumstances. And
well, let me make it clearer. The bank calls on a value of an asset. So the person who owns it or whatever goes off and gets a value. The bank may say, we want you to use this valuer. Who pays for it? Usually the client. Do you think that should be a separate action and not be influenced by the bank when those valuations are sought?
Well, the valuations are carried out by valuation professionals who have their own rules. Kelly can speak to the valuation practices that we undertake to give you a sense of the independence and the lack of influence.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just raising this question and concern when I see emails where a bank manager at Bankwest suggests to the valuer to devalue the asset by 20%. I think the valuer should do their job, the bank should do their job. And when I see an email when the banker is telling the valuer how to do the valuer's job, I find it concerning. Shouldn't they be separate? Certainly separated?
Certainly we would expect, and our practice is, that valuers carry out their role under their guidelines and using their own professional requirements as to the way they should act.
So why would a Bankwest bank manager try to influence that? We'll find it out tomorrow.
I don't know the circumstances.